this video comes through with the wind. Welcome to Scuppers, my 1980 Mainship 34, currently for sale. Do the walk through here and talk through the various systems and workings I've got going here. And so here I'm standing in the cockpit looking forward. Got a little bit of a glare with an evening sun here in Newport. Not a bad sunset. So we're looking into the salon. So I'm currently living and working aboard full time, so I have a bit of a setup for that, but obviously would be removed. And so this is the salon starboard side. We have a built-in cabinet with a little bit of a custom door I made down here. I've got a TV mount on the wall here. The TV is currently tucked away for cruising. This was actually built in with the boat when it was first built. Most of these have now been removed by the owners. They're have since been removed, and so finding one of these still intact is pretty rare. So we've got the lower helm, fully functional, totally works. We've got the compass. We've got a full suite of gauges. The DC panel under all my belongings here. Got our throttle. Then down here we've got our electric panel with the digital inverter gauge. And so right now you can see I've got my batteries at 12.4 volts. I'm at the end of the day here. I've been running all day on the solar. Sun is going down, so I'm starting to lose power. My laptop draws a lot of power. I've got my panel. All this works. You've got the AC inlet and the generator inlet. And then on this side, I've got my second 30 amp line panel. And so I had this line installed when I had the whole 120 volt system rewired. It goes for there's a main cabin outlet, forward cabin outlet, and it goes to the air conditioner. And so those I actually use for when I live aboard in the winter. And so I use those for heat. And then we've got our Northern Lights generator power on off here switch. 535 hours. I use it every day. I run it for about 30 minutes in the morning and 30 minutes at night, and it keeps me powered up along with the solar panels to run, my fridge and anything else all day. So now looking at the port side, we've got a full couch that pulls out with storage underneath. A lot of storage, actually. It's a great couch. It's pretty clean. I mean, you could take it or leave it, whatever works. This I'm currently using as a desk. I've got my monitor up. I use this chair, which is also I use as a helms chair. Storage underneath. It works great as a desk for me. There's storage under here. We have the storage and the inverter. It's a 2000 watt inverter. It's a Xantrex. It's a good inverter. And then I also have the solar controller that runs through here. It's currently just showing that the batteries are charging. So moving on. So below our feet, we have the Perkins diesel. The whole floor here pops up, and so there's a ton of access. The entire floor pulls up, and I'll pull it up in a later video. The whole floor pulls up, so you have access to everything. So you've got the generator under our feet back here. The Perkins sits up here. Batteries sit over here, one over here. There's two house batteries, two 8Ds, two Deca 8Ds. They hold a charge really well. As soon as, they don't, not like they're not run down or anything. Looking back into the cockpit, so we've got, it's a nice spacious open cockpit. I got a Magma grill. I've got two of these matching chairs. It's very much looking lived on. I've got all my stuff around. So in the back corner over here, we have the propane storage. It holds a regular 20-pound tank. And so now moving forward into the galley, we've got a two-step down into a nice appointed galley. It's got a 3-burner Tasco stove with an oven. I use both. I use the oven for storage for cereal. But I do use both. Both work well. I cook a lot on the boat. Under all my dishes here, my drying rack, there's actually storage under here, a fair amount of storage. When they originally designed these boats, they actually designed them to have the 20-pound propane tank under there in that locker. At some point, one of the owners decided to move it outside. A little sketchy having 20 pounds of propane inside. And so you've got your sink, and then you have storage behind your sink, a lot of storage. It runs the whole length of the galley here on both sides. A lot of space. Additionally, neat fun fact, these maps were installed with the boat when they were first sold, and there's not many of them still around. Most of the people removed them. So you have more storage up here, a little cabinet, a shelf up here, more storage up here, a little view of Newport out of the porthole. So I've got a microwave, my Instant Pot. I keep my fresh water. I like to drink bottled water. I don't like to drink it out of the tank. I mean, you can. They're both they're water, the fresh water, drinking water rated tanks. And I filter the water before it goes in, but I just prefer to save it for showering, cooking. So I've got a Norcold refrigerator with a freezer. Haven't actually looked in here. Hopefully it's not bad. And so you got a big fridge. I live on it, alone for, a week or two and enough food. And then I've got the full freezer that'll make ice. And so, it works well. I had to defrost it once in the last year or so, but otherwise it works really well. And so then looking back, we have the salon looking back into the cockpit. Additionally, another thing I missed actually, I replaced all the lights in the boat with these new LEDs. I think there's 5 of them, I believe, throughout the whole boat. And then I also have various lamps and things. So here's the head. So we've got just gonna lock the door back. And so you got it's a great head. You've got an electric Dometic toilet with automatic. It's got the automatic water pressure. You just run it, flushes straight through. It's the best head I've ever used on a boat. I've never had any odor or anything, and I do use it. But it's clean and good. So you've got your head, you've got your sink, a lot of storage back here. Porthole up top. Sink, I get good water pressure on the hook. I've got a full shower, and so I'm 6 foot, 180 pounds. And I fit in here fine. The shower head fits above my head, no problem. Another one of these LEDs up here that I installed. Those are really great. They draw next to no power. And then I've got so this is the forward berth. So what I actually did, it was a V-berth, and you can switch it back to a V-berth. If you pull this up, this centerpiece comes out, and you can do just the V cushions. You don't need the center. What I actually did is I have an altered full mattress up here. And so I just trimmed the top corners a tiny bit, just a little bit on each side, and so because it does come to a point on the bow, but otherwise it fits perfectly. I think you could actually fit a queen in here. I've thought about replacing it. We got a great hatch above your head. It's a big hatch. I did cut out the headliner here was not in great shape, so I cut it out so it does need to be replaced. So in the forward cabin, so you have storage on each side, a lot of storage. I store most of my clothes up here. A lot of clothes. And then you also have space on each side of here. There's under these cushions, I keep things. Space on that side. We have a full kind of cabinet over here, so cabin top, another porthole. And then you have a closet with shelves on this side, which I just use for storage. On this side, we have a hanging closet. I keep my suits and some shirts for occasions, pre-COVID occasions. Additionally, so underneath the bunk, there is the air conditioner. It's a reverse cycle AC unit, 16,000 BTUs. It runs fantastically. It keeps the boat freezing cold in the summer. It does not work on the hook. It's wired to the 120 volt. But hypothetically, if you wanted to wire it to the generator, you could, and the generator definitely provides sufficient power. We have more storage down here. I keep my electric tools up here. I keep clothes down here. Similarly on this side, more storage that I don't really use. More storage than I need personally. That's most of the forward cabin. So now we'll turn around and head back out. I have additional storage underneath the stairs here. Don't keep much under there at the moment. So heading back out. So heading back into the cockpit, ton of storage in the cockpit. So if I remove this throw, this whole panel pops up. And so here's my water storage. And so I've got originally there's a 45-gallon tank, and you can see that sitting back here. I recently installed a second 25-gallon tank, and then when I'm traveling, I bring 4 5-gallon collapsible jugs when I'm living out on a mooring or anchored, so I can just bring them in and top off my tanks. We have a 10-gallon hot water heater. It works excellently. Produces scalding hot water. Replace the zincs as needed. I replaced when I installed this tank. I also replaced a number of the hoses in the water system, and I also have the water pump is back here. When I replaced all the hoses, I just bought a second pump, and so I just keep it on the boat at all times. Those things notoriously, break, and you don't want to deal with it. And so that's most of it. Under these, there's actually access to the shaft and to where the through hull is there, and so there's plenty of access in the case that you might need to get down there. Personally, I haven't had to get down there. Okay. So then there's more storage back in the cockpit. This was added later, but it's a great extra panel. And so personally, when I'm traveling, I like to travel with all my tools and any projects I might want to work on. And so down here, I keep some extra fluids. I keep oil. I have coolant, transmission fluid, hydraulic fluid for the steering. I keep my tools that I use a lot. I've got, various other things. The steering is also down here. Here's the autopilot connection for the hydraulic steering. Spare ropes. This storage goes way back, so I have extra fluids back there. Ton of storage on each side for anything you might need. I like to travel with all my tools, especially since I live aboard. You never know if you have an afternoon and you want to do some boat projects. And so that is the cockpit. Additionally, we've got 2 big cleats on each side. The fishing pole holders, things like that, pretty standard. Swim platform, we got the steps. I did stain the platform at the beginning of the season, but it's already looking a little faded. But it's not varnished. It's actually just an oil. And so all you'd have to do to get it looking great again, it's a little salty too, because I've been out for 2 or 3 weeks now. All you'd have to do is sand it down lightly, re-oil it, and it'll pop right out. Same thing with this wood around the cockpit here. You just sand it down a tiny bit and you just oil it. It's maybe a 30-minute job, and it'll look like new. And so now looking up on the port side of the boat, so we've got clean decks. We've got a Lamar Pro Series windlass. It looks new. It's great. It works perfectly. I think it's oversized for the boat. Right now out, I have a 44-pound Delta, which is far oversized for this boat. I think it's rated for 55 feet or 50 feet and 40,000 pounds. I usually weigh and load it around 18,000 pounds. Oh, there's a cute golden retriever on that dinghy. Anyway, and then a spare anchor. I've got I think it's a 35-pound Delta, various fenders. Recently reinstalled this hatch. I pulled it, cleaned up the frame, reset it. We've got the bow, looking back. Currently have the bimini off. We had a nasty storm, so I took it down. I just had it restitched at the beginning of the season, so I didn't want to risk it, which was a good thing. We had a bit of a microburst with 70-knot breezes out here, but the Mainship held up well. So now looking back, so now going up to the bridge, and so we'll go up to the bridge in a moment. Here's the solar panels. I have 200-watt panels. They provide enough power to get me through the day on a sunny day, keep my batteries fully charged, drawing, call it 6 to 8 amps on the fridge, or less, 5 amps. And then I also draw about, 7 amps between my laptop, my, second monitor, various other things, chargers. And so the solar panels provide enough power to definitely keep you going, even if you're working aboard full time like I am. Here's the bridge without the bimini. The bimini's in great shape. As I said, I just got it restitched, and so it's in great shape. I just took it down because I didn't want to risk it in the big storm we had earlier this week. And so the bridge, we've got the upper helm. Everything works well. We've got a chart plotter. It's a little older. It could use a new card. Personally, I like to use Navionics. I don't choose to use it. Fish finder. We've got the radar, which is it's a little old, but it works excellently. It's a 24-mile radar. It's flawless, and so I've never seen the need to replace it. I recently installed a new West Marine VHF. It's the same thing as the Horizon. It's the same thing as the Horizon VHF, just the West Marine brand. West Marine actually stopped rebranding Horizon things last year. So you've got 2 seats on each side, recently rebuilt. Plenty of storage underneath. I keep my grill propane down there. We've got a varnish table. I keep my bike up here. I've got a surfboard. It's the back of the solar panels. And so one thing to note on the bridge, I did go through this year checking the bridge for wetness and softness, and so that's why you're seeing a number of small holes and some discoloration. And so what I actually did is I went around through the whole bridge, just the back half, not the front half, and I essentially went through, drilled it out, tested for softness. I'd say, like, you know, there was really no softness in by and large the whole front section here. There was a little bit of softness right back here, and that was because the prior owner installed an igloo cooler and did not properly seal the fasteners, and so there was a bit of softness back here. But basically, essentially, what I did, it doesn't look pretty right now, but what I did was drilled it all out and filled it with penetrating epoxy. And so penetrating epoxy is a very thin epoxy, and so it'll permeate through the entire area and essentially fill in all the voids. And it's probably stronger than it was originally. And so all that needs to be done, it's on my list, I just haven't gotten to it yet, is I'm going to repaint the whole bridge with non-skid, with a nice gray non-skid. I have it down in the storage that you saw earlier. Otherwise, I mean, the bridge is great. The bimini is in great shape. Recently installed the new antenna just at the beginning of this year. So now heading back down. I think that's by and large the whole boat. I've got a magma grill just to add it. Good to grill out here. I mean, it works flawlessly. And I think that's most of it. I think I've got, so I didn't mention too much about the electric. I've got 2 30 amp lines. I recently had the 120 volt system completely rewired, about $3,500. And so 2 30 amp lines, plenty of power for anything you could possibly imagine on a small boat like this. And the inverter was also rewired when that happened. And then the 12 volt system was in much better shape, and so I've been pecking away at that myself as well. But everything functions well. No problems with any of the outlets. All the outlets were actually replaced when I did the 120 volt. I do have an EPIRB, but it's expired. I have all the fire extinguishers, flares, everything you might need. And so if you have any questions, let me know. I mean, I think it's a great boat. Definitely a pretty view here from Newport tonight. This could be you, so keep that in mind. Let me know if you have any questions. Thanks.